Hello everyone. Today I'll be discussing a critical foundation of laboratory competence. Clause 4 and 5 of ISO IEC 17025-2017. These clauses establish the general and structural requirements that every accredited laboratory must meet. Think of them as the backbone of your laboratory management system. Without these in place, technical competence alone isn't enough. So let me start with clause number 4, that is general requirements. In general requirements, it addresses impartiality and confidentiality. So let me talk about clause 4.1, that is impartiality. Now the standard requires laboratories to conduct their activities impartially and manage them to maintain impartiality. This is non-negotiable. Now what does this mean in practice? No conflicts of interest that compromise objectivity. The laboratory must be responsible for impartiality of all its activities, and you must identify risks to impartiality on an ongoing basis. This includes commercial, financial, or competitive pressures. For example, if your laboratory also sells testing equipment, you need to demonstrate how you prevent this from influencing test results. Or if senior management has financial stakes in client companies, this must be declared and managed. The standard requires laboratories to have commitment to impartiality documented at the top management level. All personnel must act impartially, and the laboratory must not allow commercial or financial pressures to compromise this. Now let us move to clause number 4.2, that is confidentiality. Laboratories are responsible for managing all information obtained during laboratory activities. This is about trust. So the key requirements include informing clients in advance about what information will be made public. All information is considered proprietary and must be kept confidential. When required by law to release information, the client or individual concerned must be notified unless prohibited by law. Information about clients from sources other than client itself, like complaints, regulators, must also remain confidential. This creates a three-way confidentiality structure. It is between the laboratory and client, between laboratory and external sources, and within the laboratory itself among personnel. In practical terms, you need confidentiality agreement with staff, secure data management system, and clear protocols for when legal obligations might override confidentiality commitments. Now let's move to clause number 5, that is structural requirement. Under structural requirement, clause 5.1 legal entity talks about the laboratory must be a legal entity or a defined part of legal entity that is legally responsible for its laboratory activities. This seems basic, but it's crucial. Someone must be accountable. Clause number 5.2, that is laboratory management responsibility. This includes ensuring the management system is implemented and followed, ensuring resources are available, communicating the importance of meeting requirement to all personnel. Additionally, top management must ensure that the integrity of management system is maintained when changes are planned and implemented. This is critical during reorganization, mergers, or system updates. Now let's come to clause 5.3, that is laboratory scope of activities. Now the laboratory must define its scope of activities in accordance with the standard. This scope must be available to clients and can be in the form of a list of tests, calibration or sampling the laboratory is competent to perform, a description of the types of activities covered. Importantly, the laboratory can only claim conformity to ISO 17025 for this defined scope. You can't claim accreditation for work outside your scope. This is a common pitfall during audits. Now coming to clause 5.4, activities at non-permanent sites. So when activities are conducted at sites other than the permanent laboratory facility, the laboratory must ensure it can meet all the requirements of the standard. This applies to mobile laboratories, on-site testing or field work. Now coming to 5.5 clause, that is structure and authority. Finally, the laboratory must define its organizational structure and management structure. This means the laboratory must specify the responsibilities, authorities and interrelationship of all personnel. This means document these relationships, particularly for personnel who need freedom from pressure. This last point is crucial. Technical personnel must be free from commercial, financial or other undue pressures that might adversely affect their judgment or the quality of their work. The laboratory must have procedures to prevent personnel from being influenced by internal or external factors. For example, sales team shouldn't pressure testing staff to expedite results before proper validation is complete. So to wrap this up, clauses 4 and 5 establish the foundational framework for laboratory operations. Without impartiality, you lose credibility. Without confidentiality, you lose client trust. And without proper structure, you lose control and accountability. These aren't just administrative requirements. They are the pillars that support all your technical work under ISO 17025. So in my next video, I'll be covering clauses 6 and 7, that is resource requirement and process requirement, which dive into the personnel, equipment and operational procedures that make your laboratory function effectively. If you find this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more ISO 17025 content and laboratory quality management insights. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover, drop them in the comment section. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.